Okay, we got Attorney General Todd Rokita here. We are in Lake County to announce a large lawsuit we're filing on behalf of Hoosiers and here regarding insulin and inflation of prices. And now let me kick it over to himself, Todd Rokita, the Attorney General of the state of Indiana.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Hoosiers all. I'm here in Lake County, Indiana for an important announcement regarding our health care. Before I do that, I do want to mention the mural in the backdrop here. It's in honor of our veterans and done by David Dick in 2008. And again, we appreciate being in the Lake County Courthouse today. I want to thank the courthouse personnel for treating us so nicely and giving us this venue. And for all of you who are in the audience, thanks for taking time out of your day for this important public service announcement. We're in Lake County today because my office and I just got finished filing a lawsuit against drug manufacturers and pharmacy benefit managers, also known as PBMs. We believe, we have alleged, and we will prove that they have taken advantage of people with serious medical conditions like diabetes. The drug companies in the lawsuit and the PBMs in the lawsuit include Sanofi, Aventis, Novo Nordisk, Caremark, PCS Health, Express Scripts, CVS Health Corp, and Optum RX. Diabetes is a public health crisis for Hoosiers, especially here in Lake County. This is a serious condition that requires insulin, and the soaring prices put these patients who need this medicine in a horrible position of choosing between health and financial security. The death rate from diabetes in Lake County is 29.6 per 100,000, significantly higher than rates for Indiana and the U.S. as a whole. And even though I absolutely love this county, my home county, this is no way to live. Lake County, Indiana has death rates higher than the state and national averages for heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and kidney disease, and this is why we are taking action starting right here. Insulin costs these pharmaceutical companies less than $2 to produce, less than $2 a vial. And when they raise prices in lockstep, we allege that they have extracted illegal profits from people who truly need this medication. Drugs that were priced at $20 when they were released in the late 1990s are now priced between $300 and $700, causing a huge financial burden for families all across the state, and particularly in Lake County and other urban areas. Now, this is not something our office takes lightly. Time and time again, we have seen big pharma, capital B, capital P, going after the little guy and crippling them financially. They know insulin is necessary to keep these patients alive, but they still insist on jacking up the prices to the point where people simply cannot afford them. By using the complicated drug distribution scheme relied upon by pharmacy benefit managers to facilitate and hide their scheme, these drug companies have conspired to raise prices on insulin medications more than 1,000% in the last decade alone. Hundreds of thousands of Indiana residents are reliant upon companies that manufacture diabetes medications, and the economic impact of diabetes is staggering. Every year, the direct medical expenses associated with diabetes care in Indiana are an estimated $5 billion. Approximately 640,000 Indiana residents have been diagnosed with diabetes. This number represents 12.3% of the adult population in our state. And I'm sure many of you know family members, friends, neighbors who have either succumbed or who are suffering from this debilitating disease. Now, this is just one of the many times our office has taken on dishonest companies who harm Hoosier patients regularly. We obtained a $66.5 million settlement against Centene for their failure to disclose the true costs of the medications they were peddling. We won a $573 million multi-state settlement against McKinsey & Company for its role in quote-unquote turbocharging the opioid epidemic with Purdue Pharma. And we secured nearly $7 million in an Indiana Medicaid fraud settlement against a company called Mellencrot. Families are suffering enough already with the economic decline. Targeting and scheming against those who have a medical condition like diabetes is absolutely unethical. I hope this case will also set a strong precedent for other pharmaceutical companies and PBMs who want to take advantage of everyday Hoosiers. There are a lot more medications than just insulin that are out there and that are also could be subjects of this or similar lawsuits. I want to thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I also want to introduce two key members of my staff who are instrumental in not only getting this lawsuit filed, but in the other victories and settlements I announced, and just otherwise general leadership in this office. First, Assistant Chief Deputy Corey Voigt is here with us, and Scott Barnhart, my Division Chief in Consumer Protection. I also would draw your attention to the complaint itself. It's only about 50 pages and gives a very, through these gentlemen and others associated with my office, a very detailed accounting of the history of insulin here in the United States and across the world, and the concept of lockstep pricing. We're again alleging that there's not only collusion between the manufacturers and these pharmacy benefit managers to keep the prices high and keep them escalating, but also between the manufacturers themselves in the various environments that they participate jointly. So with that, we're happy to take questions from you online and others here in the audience. Thank you very much for your attention.
If there's anyone here that wants to give a question, let's do that. Don't flag me. Otherwise, I'm going to take questions here from online. We have Hannah Wallace from Evansville who asked, so what is the overall goal in this lawsuit? We know this has been a problem in our own family. Will it actually make a difference in drug prices we see at the pharmacy?
Thank you for your question. This suit is not just about money. The settlements that and the victories that we've won so far have a money component to them, but our ultimate goal is to change policy, to change behavior. And the fact of the matter is, insulin has been available in this country and around the world for over 100 years. And even the new variations of it, what they call analog insulins, are described as only being by a small margin different than what earlier versions of the insulin were able to do in terms of effectiveness. So 100 years of profit. And by the way, the fellow who discovered or invented insulin gave it to the University of Toronto for $1 almost 100 years ago. And his goal at the time, and the lawsuit describes this, was to make it available free for the world so no one had to suffer from this. The University of Toronto turned around and gave it to one of the defendants and Eli Lilly and Company. And between now 3 companies in the world, they have a 99% share of the total insulin market. And we cannot find any reasonable way that insulin should cost this much in this day and age after 100 years of profit. So we expect behavior to change with this. There are other lawsuits going on around the country as well, and we will either continue this one on our own or we'll be part of a larger multi-district lawsuit in this matter.
You mentioned this, and this is part of the next question. So Lauren Saunders from Indianapolis asked, So how does this issue relate to the Attorney General's office? Are private companies involved, and why is Eli Lilly not involved in the defendants in who you are going after?
So thanks for that question. Yes, we're operating under two main areas of jurisdiction here. One is, as Attorney General of the state of Indiana, we enforce Indiana's Deceptive Consumer Sales Practices Act. And we allege in our complaint violations of that act. We also enforce Indiana's antitrust laws. And with the collusion we allege between manufacturers and between PBMs and manufacturers, we have jurisdiction over those allegations as well. And there's a footnote in the lawsuit, if you look at it, that describes the position we have towards Eli Lilly. And I'll simply say at this time that Eli Lilly is cooperating with us, and so they have not been named in the lawsuit as of yet.
Robert Bernard asks if the Attorney General secures monetary judgment, who would receive the compensation? Is that the consumers, or where does this money go?
Yeah, that's a good that's a question we always get in these settlements, or if it arrives at a settlement, we don't know which direction this case is going to go. Again, our ultimate goal is to change behavior going forward. And if it does settle, and if there is a monetary settlement or judgment to that effect, how that money is distributed and where it goes will in large part be dictated by the terms of the settlement, just similar to the way our opioid crisis monies were. I suspect that with how many patients we have in the state of Indiana on insulin, it may not be worth it to send individual checks out, but we don't know. The main goal here, though, is to change behavior and keep these prices from escalating, and that may actually force them to be more reflective of the actual cost going forward. So that's what we're going after. I have no idea what any kind of settlement amount would be, and therefore I have no idea if there'll be individual restitution.
I'm going to quote this Facebook commenter directly. They are asking, why the hell is Todd Rokita in Lake County to announce this?
Well, I appreciate that question. Lake County is certainly one of the greatest of our 92 counties. It is my home county. It's not what drives me here today, but as I said at the beginning of this press conference, Lake County is more adversely affected by high insulin prices because of the number of people needing insulin here in the county than in other counties. Counties like Lake County, such as Allen County, Vanderburgh County, that's Fort Wayne, Evansville, Marion County, Indianapolis, also suffer from high rates. But it's important for the people of Indiana, I think, to understand that their Attorney General works for all counties, for all people in all counties, and that certainly includes the great county of Lake.
Another question we have. So what took Indiana so long to get involved in this battle? We know that other state attorneys general have been involved in this for many years. Do you have any timing on this?
Well, we don't know the timing, how long this is going to take to either get to judgment or to settle, whatever case that may be. But a lot of times our strategy shouldn't be who gets to the courthouse first. It should be who has the most effective lawsuit and the best claims. And sometimes that takes research. Sometimes you want to see how other states may have faltered or failed in order to perfect your claim. And that was the case here.
Is the Attorney General's office in any position to follow Florida's lead in banning the COVID vaccine because of lack of disclosure to the consumer from side effects and also excess death and injury from the vaccine?
Yeah. So thanks for that question. I'm not prepared to talk publicly about the state of Indiana's position on that, and that would also involve other elected officials as well. But I will say that it is something we're looking at.
Are there any other questions from the audience here directly?
There's one there, I see. the folks on the social media would like to make sure they hear you. So,
I just want to say, as a relatively new Hoosier, how grateful and thankful I am that you are always fighting for parents' rights, for children's rights, and for our health care. We do need to improve our health care in Indiana, and I'm glad to see you working on it. Thank you.
well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We can take more of those questions, that's for sure. So, no, I appreciate your compliment and your comment, ma'am, and we do fight for everyone in the state of Indiana that way. This is your state, and the government's to serve you.
Another question from online is what the timeline is for the legal issues here. How long this is going to last?
Yeah, it's impossible to tell. The opioid settlement, the opioid lawsuit went on several years before settlement. I'm not trying to make a direct comparison that it's going to be like or just like that, but these things do take a long time. Some will depend if we, I'm sure there will be the opposing counsel and the opposing parties here will try to remove this to federal court. We will resist that. From there, we'll have, stand by one. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Hoosiers
Thank
working
you.
in the government here.
So there may be an attempt to remove this to federal court. There may be an attempt to put this with the other multi-district litigation that other states are engaged with. So there'll be a lot of legal maneuvering, and this will be years, most likely not months. That's how these things always go. But so far, my experience has been that they've always ended well for the people of the state.
All right, we have a second question here from the same gentleman. If you could say your name at the beginning.
My name is Ron Siegert. I'd like to ask, is the Attorney General's office making progress with a task group to address human trafficking issues in the state of Indiana?
Yeah, thank you. With regard to human trafficking, I'm very pleased to announce that we're rolling out what we know to be from other states and a very effective program. It's called Child ID Kits. When I came to office, I was dismayed about how many adults got in a room and talked about the problem and talked about the statistics, but little effective action was taken afterwards, as I see it. Child ID kits, and I wish I had one, I wasn't expecting the question, are a great way to make sure that, especially with regard to our children, are a great way to make sure that, especially with regard to our children, our most precious gift from God we could have, that if that terrible day ever came where your child or your grandchild was abducted, the first 48 hours are so critical in determining the success of getting your child back, that if you have their data all packaged and ready to go for we in law enforcement, that we can act in those first 48 hours, again, the chances go up significantly that you can get your child back. So child ID kits are data collection devices, very low tech, that come in an envelope, and they have inkless fingerprinting available. Oh, here you go. Thank you, Josh. They look like this. You can pull them out. Here's your, what do you call, inkless activation solution. You put your child's information or your grandchild's information all up here. You fingerprint them. You can do a DNA through their saliva by having them dab their tongue on the corner. And here's the point. I pause so it could be focused on. You do not turn this into government. You do not turn this into your police department. You do not give them to me. We will not accept it. You put this back in the envelope, again, if you're the grandparent or parent, and you put it in a safe place with your insurance documents, in your Bible, in your safe, in your gun safe, wherever the most precious things you value are kept. And then again, if that terrible day comes, we immediately can work on getting your child back. And again, the first 48 hours are critical. Thank you.
We do not have any other questions here, so I once again ask if anyone here in the crowd does, and if not, I will say thank you all for coming here to attend this event, and I will give the final comment to the Attorney General.
I'd like to thank my staff. They're great. None of this could be done without the hardworking public servants that you have at your Attorney General's office. They could be, and not just these two, but speaking for well over 300 people, they can all be making more money somewhere else if they wanted, but they truly serve with a servant's heart. We do 20,000 cases a year. You hear about a few of them. But there's so many others in the day-to-day where they help people just like we intend to help today. And so I thank them for their service, and I thank the people of Indiana for allowing me to serve as their Attorney General. Thank you. Thank you.